Hello, hello, Ederson Oliveira here. This is the reunion of the DNN monthly chats. Or, as my buddy Joe says, whatever happened to those clowns? And with me, I have Joe Craig, Scott Wilkinson, Mike Smeltzer, and a special guest, Dave Poindexter. Let's start. I guess that before we catch up, before each one of us has a chance to talk about our own stuff, I think that it's fair to start with the common ground of what brought us all together initially, and still is our, I would say, our linchpin. Let's put it this way. About DNN, let's talk a little bit about DNN. Let's start there before we go around. And for that topic, it's one of the reasons why I have the special guest here, because I know that our special guest is still very connected to the community. And I would like to ask David, how is everything in DNN?
Let me see. Let me go look at a few sites here real quick, Ederson. I don't know.
I can step back. I can be more specific. What has been happening with DNN? You can pick the time frame, but my curiosity is about the last 2.5 years, because we have stopped doing the recordings and being more active, at least myself, in the past 2.5 years. So mid 2019, again, I don't expect you to record, mid 2019, it was just like this. But think about the recent, I'd say the recent months, and how are things doing with DNN?
Well, first of all, I think things are going really great. I was just joking, by the way. I feel like really, I guess there's different aspects of it. There's the technical aspect of it, and I can touch on that for just a second. But, really at a 30,000 foot level, I think, you remember, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago or so, we were all wondering, is DNN going to live? Is it dying? What is going on? What should we be looking elsewhere? It was a common conversation, right?
Very much.
It shifted big time. It took a long time to really shift, but it has shifted, and it's been in what I would call the last 2 years has been in a more stable state. Because from a technology standpoint, there's been constant releases, a stability of the platform, security has been top of mind. So, getting us to a point to where we're really more stable as a platform and have more confidence in utilizing it on sites. And the community, I think, is actually growing. That's maybe a bit of a stretch, from a, probably because I hear a lot more, behind the scenes, people talking and things like that. But it's like, there seems to be people coming out of the woodwork that were either a part of the platform a long time ago, or the community a long time ago, and have now found themselves attracted back in because of that stability and that focus on security. Or they, there's new people that have landed in a job that they've inherited a site or something like that. I've just seen a lot of activity that just was not there. 4 years ago, at least we didn't know about it, right? So I'm encouraged at the state of DNN, and where things are.
Got it. Again, guys, feel free to drill David there, but I have a follow-up here, David. Is that question of, are we moving to core? Are we not moving to core? Is that question still relevant or not?
No, that's not really relevant anymore. Of course, it may be in some people's minds, but I guess it was maybe a little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago now. We have actually published a few blogs out there. Mitch Sellers and myself published a blog that really was kind of a recognition of who we are and who we're going to be, who we're not going to be. And that conversation really, it wasn't really a decision that we made per se. It was really a decision that was made for us by Microsoft just because of the path that they took with .NET Core and some of the things that we would not have the option of doing like we hoped or thought originally for some of that. So it was really just, let's put this conversation to rest because it's distracting. We can't, it's a solid platform as it is on ASP.NET, and ASP.NET has a longer, life cycle than .NET Core just because of the way things work. It's a much faster paced framework. So no, it was really just a coming to ourselves, recognizing who we are and who we're going to be, who we're not going to be, and just moving forward with that, embracing that. Maybe there's a path in the future. I mean, there's other projects that are on .NET Core that are succeeding and doing really well. I mean, our friend Sean Walker, in Octane, they're doing well. It's still early in that game, but that's what that platform is. We're not that.
I get it.
So just recognizing that, and if somebody really wants that, they can go there, and explore that.
And again, even though I'm into the Microsoft space, but I don't know the nitty gritty details, the ins and outs of, for example, if we look at ASP.NET, does Microsoft promise, or there is really a long-term vision for ASP.NET? I mean, a long-term, at the very least, maintenance of ASP.NET? Do you know that?
I mean, I would say so. It's much longer than the vision that they state for .NET Core. I mean, we have to be careful when we're reading that stuff, because it doesn't mean that things are going to end at that point. It just means we're going to have support at least to that point. And that goalpost is much further down the pike, for ASP.NET than it is .NET Core.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to you, David, in a second. Again, I want to go back to a few more points about DNN, but I want to give a chance, first of all, to see if anyone has any pointers back to David about DNN, but I'm gonna reconnect with DNN again. There are a few other topics that I want to get David's opinion. Anyone for David at this point?
Well, that was easy.
Okay, that was
makes sense.
Okay, so Scott, let's start with you then. Tell me what you have been up to in the last 2 years. Again, just recapping.
Oh boy,
we have stopped this for 2.5 years now. Mid 2019. So tell me what's new, what's wonderful, what's happening with you professionally. Let's not go personal yet. I have a segment for personal, but professional.
Oh, professionally. Okay. Well, it's hard to uncouple the two for me, but okay. Because my personal stuff will be professional, I guess, and vice versa. But I left around this time last year. I left Blue Bolt, but I didn't really leave. So for the developers out there, I did a soft leave or whatever you want to call it. So I still have like a perpetual contract with them and do some consulting, but yeah, I don't know. I just felt like I needed a little more room to do personal projects and other things like that. But so you guys know, I started that YouTube channel, which, is kind of a little hobby thing, but that hobby is kind of, eventually going to be my, probably my, pre-retirement job. So that's what I'm working up to my pre-retirement. That's how it's going to work now from now on. You don't just retire, you work up to a pre-retirement career, and then you use that to retire off of.
As the launch pad,
Launch pad of retirement. And if you guys know me, I like Aderson, I can't sit still. So it's not like I'm going to just sit around golfing. But I did some consulting. I actually got a contract last year initially doing DNN and Azure stuff. And then it morphed into Salesforce. So the reason why you haven't heard from me in the DNN community lately is because I'm kind of now a full-time Salesforce developer. So that's just kind of ended up happening. But now I'm working full-time a contract for an insurance company in Chicago that doing Salesforce development, but I'm working from home. But eventually I want to get to the point where I'm not, I love my Herman Miller chair, don't get me wrong, but my issue is I don't like sitting for 8 hours a day, and I'm trying to get out of that. So eventually maybe I'll be doing more of my YouTube type stuff, you know, and develop, doing that kind of stuff as well as software development. But for now, I'm still a full-time software developer. I haven't gone completely insane yet, despite the way I look. So that's been it.
Okay, so when you talk about Salesforce, did you find, I would say not a similar community, but did you find a community there that you can hang on, that you can chat, that you can talk? I mean, did you find that kind of a thing there on Salesforce?
Oh, there definitely is. There's a huge community and sub communities and meetups and all that other stuff. I haven't really worked into it. I don't know. It's not really my DNN. I felt like I needed to, because it's an open source project and it's fun and that's what I wanted to do. But for Salesforce, it's just so big, and I don't know. My attitude now is I want to do a good job, because I always want to do I want to do good for the company I work for. But my vested interest in Salesforce is not what my interest in DNN. It's not the same.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to come back to you, but we're going to explore that YouTube channel in a second. I'm very curious about that. Let's go around. Let's go, Mike. Let's go. What's up? Last 2 years. Actually, something that I forgot to add to the conversation as well is COVID has happened in the last 2 years now at this point in time. So again, a big part of our last 2.5 years was within the context of COVID. So Mike, again, last 2 years, what's up? Where DNN is in your life at this point? Where are you?
Yeah, I guess from a DNN standpoint, like I'm not involved nearly as much as I have in the last few years in using DNN professionally or from a community aspect. To your point, like when COVID happened a few years ago, that was I was at DNN Summit, I believe, like a week before, two before that, and that was a great conference. Had made a lot of networking and new people that I've never met before. And then boom, we had a pandemic happen. And at the time, I was I do consulting. I have been for the last 8 or 9 years. And all of a sudden, all kinds of companies that I've been working with were going a different direction, right? Like, hey, the world's flipping upside down. We're not going to do that project now. We're not going to go down this path right now. A lot of things started kind of coming to a halt. And I also had a little girl who's now 3, and my attention started getting pulled in different directions and trying to figure out what to do. So I had to pivot a couple of years ago, and most of my customers are local customers here in Canada, and I started doing custom .NET apps, not on DNN, but just kind of native vanilla .NET solutions for some of our local government entities here. And that ended up going down another path for me for the last 2 years of building solutions to help government get out of or digitally transform, take manual processes and put them online and improve things. And maybe 4 or 5 different projects, I think, kind of just end to end started going out of that. And when you have a little kid and you're working all the time, it's hard to fit in much more.
That's very true, very true. Guys, I have to say, the other day, a few months ago, I sent a very interesting job opportunity for our friend Mike, and he said, "Yeah, thank you, but no thank you. I mean, I'm too busy. I don't need anything else right now." Kind of like snobbish, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm joking, Mike.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's I've been fortunate the last little while that there's been a lot of work coming our way locally, and more like I work independently, and then also do some subcontracting, but more than we have resources to take on, which is a bit of a lost opportunity. But IT is booming in a lot of places, I think, and I wish I could clone myself.
Yes, I know the feeling, Mike. Okay, Mike, again, coming back to you in a second, but let's go for I don't know, should I say the Godfather? I mean, is that what describes Godfather? Kiss the ring, I kind of thing. Again, Joe, how are you doing? Tell me about the last 2 years. Come on.
Well, that was a nice way of saying the old guy. Yeah, like Mike, my last foray into the real world was DNN Summit in Orlando, and I came home, and I think I went to the. I think I came home on Thursday night, went to the office on Friday, and never went back. That's kind of a dramatic reading of it. I mean, I've been working a lot from home doing my DNN consulting, but so last fall, I actually made a change and have a full-time employer in the DNN world. And in the modern world, you don't actually work for the company that you're working for. There's a third party involved that pays your salary and sells your body, but you tend to forget that you don't work for those.
It can also be called a pimp, but that's fine. That's okay.
So I'm actually working for a large company, and you would recognize some of the names of the people involved in that company. And I was actually, when I interviewed for the job, I was interviewed by the Godfather of our world. The team that I joined was in the midst of some changes, people rolling off and people coming in, and several months later, we actually have a team that's got some impressive DNN experience. The job is working on an enterprise level set of DNN things, and like everybody in the world is involved in it. I probably, since we are recording this, right? Or are we
yes,
not?
we are, and I see that you are.
I won't mention names and companies and things like that, but it's really interesting as this team has developed. Somebody deserves some credit for going out and hiring some really good experienced talent in the DNN field, so I'm really excited about that. I used to work at the low end, small customers, small things, a small to medium-sized company's website. And I'm now working on websites that have presences from New England to Texas to California. So I'm seeing a different side of things, and that's interesting. Meanwhile, I'm waiting for Scott to get his van electrified. And all of this done from the chair that I'm sitting in right now.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I have not heard one another. It will be nice at some point to actually be able to see children and grandchildren again. Although we back in June, I'm getting into the personal.
Yeah.
I'll stop that. So professionally,
yeah,
I'm still very heavily involved in DNN and involved in a side of the DNN universe that's quite different than what I have done before.
Okay. So Joe, I have a question. I'm really curious. I think that you can help me here. You can really help me here. and again, I'm gonna be as subtle or tactful touching the subject as possible, but it boils down to age. It boils down to reinventing yourself. So I'll be honest with you, I'm in a way worried about how long, how much energy and for how long do I have energy to keep in this space, you know? And sometimes I think that by 55, I'll be dragging myself in the ground. I'll be crawling. I'll not be able to stand anymore. My question is, how can you keep up the interest, the motivation, the energy level with technology that you have? And again, feel free to reveal where you are. I don't want to be the one doing that, but how do you do that? I mean, how do you recommend someone that wants to stay active for as long as we can? And I have a hard time for me seeing myself at 60 being able to keep going. What do I do? I mean, what do you say?
Well, I actually wanted to say something about Scott's comment about his pre-retirement job and things like that. I don't picture myself not working. And yeah, that's been I think that's actually been very, very helpful during the last 2 years, that I actually did not have to make as big an adjustment in my working style as I thought I was, as it could have happened. And maybe part of that answer was in the 2004, 2006 timeframe. I kind of got forced into looking for a new job, when the one that I had disappeared. And what I did at that point was I wasn't sure what I wanted to look for. Whereas the previous umpteen years, if I changed jobs, it was pretty much in the same general field. It was scientific R&D, but a lot of it based around modeling analysis, data analysis, and so forth. But in that same time period, I was involved with a volunteer organization, and one of the things that I had done was launch that organization's first website in 1995, actually on the day that Windows 95 was launched, coincidentally. That's why we couldn't hire the Rolling Stones, because Microsoft had already booked them. So out of that, there was an opportunity while I tried to figure out what to do to do some consulting for a company that made software that was sold to the members of that organization. And so in that process, one Friday afternoon, I followed a footnote in some stuff that I was looking at that said, this product you're using can also be, there is a wrapper that you can stick it into DNN, or .NET Nuke at the time. And by Monday, this was 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. By Monday, I had solved most of the problems I'd been struggling for the previous 6 weeks. I needed things like a custom authentication provider, and I needed a skin, but I had the functionality, except for those 2 things, of the actual website. And when I found out that it was very difficult to hire people to do what I needed to do, at the end, I said, I bet I'm not the only person with a small web problem using DNN. And so I decided to become the person that could help people like myself. Coincidentally, around the same time, I had subscribed to a website called DNN Creative Magazine. And Lee Sykes, who ran that, put up a note one day that said, I can't produce content if I have to answer all the questions on the forum. I'm looking for somebody to help answer questions. Then I wrote him a note and I said, hey, I'll do that. And I think the deal was something like he'd pay me $5 an answer, not to exceed 20 answers in a week.
Okay, interesting deal.
And so I only billed them for 20 answers a week, but I answered a lot more questions. A couple of years pass, and Lee sold DNN Creative Magazine, and I think was that when it went to managed, or it didn't go to managed, it went to Power DNN. And I think by the time that DNN Creative kind of, toward the end of Andy's tenure of being the content producer for that, I think on the forums I had answered something like 11,000 questions, and it was probably more than that. So that was my kindergarten, undergraduate, and postgraduate education in .NET Nuke, because you wouldn't believe the kind of things that people had done to it, and they needed help undoing what they had done. So yeah, I joked at one point that there was no DNN website that I couldn't upgrade. Well, that's actually not true. I was, from about 2015 until late last year, I was working with a guy, and you've all met, I don't think Adderson has, but some of you have met him. He was at DNN Summit in Orlando, but they had the most complicated, convoluted, screwed up, ill-conceived website with in excess of 50 custom modules. And we got it up to DNN 8, and it could have gone to DNN 9, but they decided last year to get out of the business, which explained why they hadn't wanted to put a lot of energy into the upgrade for a couple of years. But
so Joseph, so Joe, I'm gonna ask. In summary, the secret is ... in 5 words.
Do what you like doing.
Okay. Awesome. I can live with that.
Yeah. If I get out of the bed in the morning wanting to get out of the bed,
do what you like doing. That's great.
That was impressive.
Right there.
And talking a lot helps.
That's awesome. Okay. Let's move forward here a little bit. David, I want to get back to you. Tell me, where is the corp, if at all, there? I mean, did it went in thin air? I mean, did it disappear? DNN Corp, where's the corp?
The last guy at corp just showed up on my team this week.
No, actually, they just, so we had a period there, of Andy Treba kind of at the helm whenever they were acquired by ESW or EWS Capital. And that lasted for a while. And, and people can say what they want about that period of time, but that was key to
transition, wasn't it?
Being really handed over to the kingdom, to the community. And I mean, we really have Andy to thank for that, because he really delivered on what he said from the very beginning on that. So it was actually, even though it was a bit unstable of a time, it was a transitional time, so it was good in the end. And when he moved on from ESW, I think I said EWS. Sorry, I'm getting confused with RAP.
I
don't know. And so there was a quiet period of time, where they have now transitioned to a new head of the DNN Corp area, and he has recently reached out to a few of us and met with us. So that we're heading into a new era. We'll see what that means. I think it's way too early to tell at this point, but there was quite a long period of time where the involvement in the community really just wasn't there. We had a link really to one or two people in Corp, and we kept in touch, with regular meetings and so forth, but there really wasn't a whole lot of, community involvement. If there was an issue in Evoke or something like that, because it depends on the platform, right? And there's some things in the platform that are there specifically just for Evoke. Hopefully that'll change over the future, but that it's still like that. So we would see a pull request every once in a while come in, to resolve an issue or something that was reported by a client. But for a long period of time, that was really what it was limited to.
And the commercial in Evoke is still being actively pushed forward, or that project is quiet there?
Depends on what you mean by actively pushed forward. It's still there. They are still collecting license fees for those that are willing to pay for that. But beyond that, the actual evolution of the software itself is not really been happening. As a matter of fact, they're kind of quite a bit behind now with platform.
Got it.
There's a desire, or was a desire, I don't know if it's still there or not, was a desire to get kind of caught up, so that they would be based off of a current version of DNN platform, but they've been behind for quite some time on that.
Got it. Is there, at this point, David, is there any major milestone coming up? I mean, is there something major coming up? I'm not talking about anymore about the Corp or Evoke. I'm talking about the platform. Is there anything major coming up, or is that I would say maintenance, run-of-the-mill type of process that you keep fixing things? And I mean, what is the state right now of what's coming up next?
Yeah, I mentioned security earlier, kind of being the foray. We all have experienced the Telric words today. But the as of 9.8.0, right, there's a ability to optionally remove Telric from platform following I think it's an 18-step process now, which is not too bad to do, but a lot of people are not doing it for whatever reason. Either they can't because of old modules that depend on that or so forth. But the next milestone for us is 9.11, which is a minor release, but it will we've broken the rules just a little bit as far as semantic versioning goes on purpose, just because sometimes you have to let practicality win over the rules. So what we're doing is 9.11 will come out, and it will be for any clean installs of it. Telric will be removed. It will not be there as a part of it right out of the box. You don't have to go through any manual steps to remove it. But if you're upgrading, that will be an optional automated removal. So that's kind of the next goalpost. There's a few tasks that still are remaining in order to be able to do that release. And then as soon as that's done, beyond any kind of maintenance type, releases that'll be after that, the next major thing is V10. So there's a lot of great ideas on the table for V10, but we're really focused on getting 9.11 there, because a lot of entities, especially in the enterprise level or government entities, need that to be the case for scans and so forth.
Dave, now a little bit on your professional, personal side there. Not so much personal, but professional. From individual native standpoints, new clients, new projects, they are all built within the platform?
No, we really never have been a DNN shop in in the traditional sense. I mean, we do choose to use DNN whenever it's possible. So the majority of our clients do run on DNN, whether they know it or not is another conversation. But, you know, not because we try to hide it or anything. It's just that a lot of our clientele, they just want a solution. They don't really care too much about the technology under it. They just trust in us to make sure they're on a system that they can trust. That's not always the case. I mean, some of the larger clients obviously care about that kind of thing. But for the most part, we're on DNN. Of course, we're a full service marketing agency too. So a lot of our work is not even dealing with websites, you know, it's advertising or branding or, you know, just stuff like that, you know, billboard creation and things like that, audio production, video production, fun kind of stuff like that. Of course, we've been doing a lot of mobile app development over the last couple of years. And a lot of times we'll use DNN as the back end for that. And I'll be doing a presentation at DNN Summit about kind of doing something like that. So, yeah.
Got it. Awesome, awesome. I had a question, but it just left through my mind. So I'll get back to that as it becomes relevant here. That's actually, yeah, no, there's one, but I will leave for the next round. Mike, let's go back to you. Actually, you know what, before you, Mike, I guess I'm going to just do a 2 minutes update here of what I've been doing for the last 2 years. I've been teaching and teaching more and more and more. And I still do a lot of DNN. Actually, DNN is still about 25% of my income. Let's put it as my revenue. But teach a lot. And I've been a full-time senior full stack developer. Can you believe that? Can you guys believe that? I hope that my boss doesn't hear that, you know. But for the past few months, yeah. So it's been an interesting journey. Still struggling with front end, but back end is .NET Core, so it's all good. So yeah, so that's my spiel for myself here. So Mike, let me get back to you. So what are you looking forward? I mean, again, professionally speaking, what's next? What is in your radar there that you are exploring? Again, let's talk about the future a little bit here.
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned earlier, like I've been doing consulting for a while, and I've been trying for the last few years to try and figure out a way, you know, how can I scale that, you know, to expand my reach, or what am I trying to build that into? And the last couple of years, especially, you know, last 2 years, I've been really kind of playing through those motions, like, you know, what do I want to do when I grow up? And I'm still trying to figure that out.
Don't grow up.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we all do, huh? So I've been trying to look at some other product ideas that I want to build, and one of the big things that in the applications I've been building in the last few years is been a big focus on building inclusive applications. So, you know, adaptive user experiences that have, you know, strong accessibility support, work on mobile, work on desktop. And especially, you know, working with some public sector clients, like, you know, you want to reach as many of your clients, of your citizens as possible, right? Regardless of what, you know, kind of medium they're trying to use. Like I've got this is my new dream. I've got a dual screen Surface Duo now. So like, you know, I want to build a mobile app or an app that's, you know, that's optimized to my two screens. You know, we've got a lot of rural citizens in my part of Canada, Nova Scotia, that don't have access to super fast high-speed internet. So, you know, making sure you build resilient applications that, you know, if they go offline, you know, aren't going to have someone lose their, you know, screen that has 100 fields on it of data kind of thing. And so I've been looking at some different, oh, there you go, right? Yeah, Anderson's into the technology too. You could have done your whole meeting in that headset, Anderson.
Yeah, actually,
cinematic display going on.
No, let me tell you. This week it was very clunky, but this week I didn't buy this, by the way. It was a very good friend of mine that I work with him as well. He sent me a few weeks ago a new one. Actually, I was in a meeting, in a virtual reality meeting. Very clunky, I have to say, but it's getting there. I mean, things are getting there. Things will be ramping up in this kind of platform here. I mean, I'll tell you guys, things will be ramping up here. Anyway, sorry, Mike.
Oh, that's okay. I love. I don't have a VR headset. I would love to have a Microsoft HoloLens. That's like an augmented reality headset, but they are way out of my reach. For maybe in the future. But yeah, so I'm trying to figure out a way, like, how can I take some of these really, say popular, but well requested kind of applications and designs, and how can I take what I'm building right now that's in custom form and try and abstract that out a little bit so that I can build more inclusive applications, but more rapidly, and stop doing everything from scratch all the time. Yeah.
That's your question. How do you keep the pulse in what's happening to help you make those decisions?
Yeah, I love tech. Like even when I'm not working, I follow the Microsoft .NET community and a lot of their YouTube videos, which are now like they've got some channels out there with they're pumping out content on on a weekly basis. Lots of really cool developments with .NET 6 and Blazor. And they've got some new technologies, .NET MAUI, which you can build user experiences and UIs that scale natively across iPhones and Macs and Linux and desktops and web, and just explore that world a little bit, because that's where a lot of the big players are pushing their technology for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And so that's what I'm trying to think of, like, where do I want to be? What do I want to be doing in 5 years? And what things are out there that can help me do that in kind of the way that I want to. And so right now I'm basically trying to build a component library of you could call them like DNN modules, but much smaller little chunks of web pages, and try and build like a building block solution that's for development teams, my own specifically, but that can branch out and help people build accessible applications, because there's a lot of skills that are missing in those areas, at least in my location. And if you can build something and get it validated that it works with a screen reader, it works with keyboard navigation, it works on my dual screen phone, but have some flexibility for customization to some extent, you could at least, I think, could help myself rapidly build some of these digital solutions that are getting people off of manual paper processes, small line of business type solutions. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm going professionally in my mind, and hopefully the next few months I'll have some developments there. Yeah.
Awesome, Mike. I'll come back to you in a second. Sure. For some additional stuff. But Scotty, let's talk about Scotty. Scotty, the handman. Scotty, what's coming? What's that? Scotty, beam me up.
What's coming for me?
Yes.
Is that what you? Oh my gosh, yeah, I don't know.
Talk about your YouTube stuff.
Well, yes, I'm on my second electric vehicle conversion. So I sold my Triumph. It was, I just got sick of it being so small and not very economic. It's just such a small, it's only a 2-seater convertible. And, so I'm like, I need something, I want something big, So I sold the car in like two different pieces, right? I sold the car to somebody who's going to put a gas engine back into it, weirdly enough. And then I sold the electric parts to some other guy who wanted to convert a Spitfire. And now I'm doing my Volkswagen bus. So I'm restoring it first, which is taking all my time, learning to weld and do all that stuff, all the stuff. I'm not hiring any of it out. So I'm replacing the bearings and doing the brakes and the hydraulics and the welding. And I'm actually painting it this spring. So you'll see videos coming out of me trying to, HVLP spray paint this thing in a makeshift paint booth. That's just going to be plastic sheeting all over my garage. So that'll be fun. I want to upgrade my shop. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that. I might have to move, so that might be coming. We'll see.
Okay, I have to ask, Scott. I mean, what does the beta half tell us about that? I mean,
she thinks I'm crazy. Imagine. She thinks I'm nuts. I'm about to go do one of my Fix It Scotty. I call it on the job calls, where I do free maintenance work for people that can't afford it. So I'm about to go to Gurney which is like 30 miles away, and fix a boiler that went out on some people that, can't afford to get it fixed right after this call. So I'm doing like my just handyman stuff. And when Mike gets everyone onto these new VR headsets and this virtual reality everyone's on the metaverse, I will be the one driving around fixing all of your toilet chairs, because these people are going to be sitting on chairs that are also going to be their toilets. And I will be the one fixing the plumbing for that. So that's my goal, is to support all of your weird, virtual reality technology in the future by allowing the biological, physical stuff to still work.
Okay, Scott, can you stretch your reach a little bit? No, from Chicago to Toronto is not that far. No, maybe you can drop by and fix a few things I have here. No?
Yeah. I feel like if I move, I keep looking south for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm not interested in going further north.
Okay, now in a more serious tone, what's the goal with the channel? I mean, do you have any monetary intentions there, or is that just hobby? I mean, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I don't want to be a professional content creator. I'm not going to be a professional YouTuber. It is already monetized though. I don't know how, but enough people are watching it that I'm actually making money off that channel already. So no, it's more to document my stuff, because I'll go back to videos I've done in the past and just to look at like, oh, I forgot what the dashboard looked like when I pulled it out, So it's really just to document my work. And I'm not on Facebook anymore. I got rid of that. And that's why the VR headset's been a problem, because my friend was like, hey, I want to play this game with you you got to get this headset, but you got to get a Meta account. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like Facebook. So I don't know, maybe I'm not going to go too crazy prepper on you guys. So I'll probably I'm on Instagram, Fix It Scotty. I'm on YouTube, Fix It Scotty. And I'm trying to get Fix It Scotty on Twitter, but some jerk won't let it go and he hasn't used it. So I'm still on the social medias that way. So you can still get a hold of me.
Awesome.
Scott, my 10-year-old granddaughter, who posts things on YouTube that only a 10-year-old would appreciate, nothing more than 30 seconds shot up with an iPhone. Put something up back in November and she got over 50,000 views of the thing. I think the previous one getting 50 views was a big deal, but I have nobody knows how or why it happened, and I still don't understand.
She's an SEO expert.
No, but it was like, oh my God.
It can happen.
10-year-old voice.
You never know, it can happen. Awesome. Okay. David, let me stop there on you again. Tell me a little bit about there's a DNN Summit just around the corner. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so there's a DNN Summit 2022 in February 9th and 10th, I believe it is. It's coming up. It'll be a virtual event. They just recently canceled the in-person social kind of stuff just because of all that's going on, and not a lot of people were committing to that, for good reasons for that. So it'll be virtual again, just like it was last year. A lot of good speakers and that you would expect, as well as a few new faces in there, and sessions. So yeah, it should be really good.
Awesome.
Looking forward to it. And DNN Connect is not too much farther around the corner.
Okay.
Into the summertime. June is towards the end of June and beginning of July, I believe it is.
Later than it has been, right?
Yeah, and they're going back to Millau, France, and that should be that'll be a true DNN Connect event, in person type thing, barring no unforeseen challenges with COVID and so forth. But yeah, they're ramping up to get started with that, so it should be a good event.
Yeah, I did get an email this week that had a bunch of really large question marks in it. Was that more about, are we going to fill up the venue, or are we having the event, or both?
Yeah, it was more about, well, they'll have the event regardless, I think, unless something, public, tries to, shut things down or whatever, for whatever reason. But no, this was more about, could it be a private venue or just an open venue type thing? Because I think they have to get to a certain number of attendees in order for it to lock in as an exclusive, have the place to themselves, which is normally what they have done in the past. But they're reaching that, there's so much uncertainty, out there.
These are different times.
Yeah. So I think the venue really wants to, lock that in. They're fearing, so I think, they want to get, some at least commitment from people that, barring no unforeseen issues, hey, you're planning on coming. So yeah, hopefully they can lock it in as a private event. That would be great.
Just changing, a second here. It just came to mind. Did anyone had the COVID experience?
No.
All safe. Okay, good. I'm not talking about the extended family.
Actually getting sick. Yeah, no.
Awesome.
Although I did talk to or exchange messages the other day with one of the DNN community who's had a couple of cases in their family.
Awesome. Okay, good. Okay, so David, anything about vendors? I mean, vendors are the same reliable vendors are still active. I'm talking about things like organizations like Mandeeps or DNN Sharp, or I don't know, DNN Go, but anyone. I mean, are those vendors, and do we have anything to report, I would say, in terms of vendors?
I would say everything's pretty status quo normal, except for DNN Sharp. Mandeep is still what you'd expect. And then they also have the whole Vanjero experience that they've been focusing a lot on, which is great for, people that are looking for that type of solution. And DNN Go, I believe, is still active. That still run across a lot of sites with their themes and so forth in it. And I see new stuff out there. Easy DNN Solutions, still strong, doing exactly what you would expect. Of course, I think they venture out into other markets as well. They've been doing that for years anyway. So, and DNN Sharp's probably the biggest change over the last 2 years. They have limited their DNN only solutions to, I think, Action Forms and one other. I'm not a big user of their stuff, so I can't remember the details of it, but they've been focusing on Plant an App, which is more of a SaaS solution, for building out sites and, kind of having widgets like Mike was speaking of, earlier, to be able to kind of quickly and rapidly build solutions out, and they have their own pricing model and so forth on that. Yeah. So, that was kind of a big shift for a lot of people that were using their standalone modules. Just because they have kind of dropped the support for a lot of those things. So a little bit of a shift.
I get it. Yeah, I spoke with Bogdan a few months, if not a year and a half ago, and they were going for this low codes, no codes type of offering. And he was in San Francisco looking for venture capital, and I don't know where things are sitting right now, but yeah, he was very into trying to push this to become bigger and broader. Also,
didn't they do kind of a crowdsourced fundraising effort as well?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people in the DNN community actually help support.
Yeah, I did too. I threw some money at it. I'm like, why not? I try, yeah.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's an interesting solution, and Salesforce is just dominating that space, and it makes sense that smaller players that can go after the smaller companies that can't afford Salesforce would go after that. So yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think one of the other things in the vendor market is we really don't have the case anymore of everybody and his brother selling DNN modules. I mean, really has coalesced down to the, what, less than half a dozen major vendors that, yeah, I would say don't go out of that space if you want to buy a module.
Well, a lot of that's driven by the marketplace that really
Sure.
doesn't exist yet. Well, it exists, but has not been maintained. So, there's still quite a bit of opportunity, I'd say, for someone that wants to kind of be in that space, because I don't see that changing too much from a court perspective. I mean, I could be wrong,
but it has been a few years since a new face has come along, and I think the new face that has come along in the last few years is our friends from Switzerland. Too sexy. Has had a major impact on modules.
Are they still coming strong? I mean, going strong with their super duper module?
Oh yeah.
As far as I know, yeah.
Very strong.
They are doing things at a rate that most human beings cannot keep up with.
And I think they're also developing modules for Octane.
Yeah,
If I'm not
260, they
mistaken.
advertise it as hybrid now, so it runs
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, I
You-
think version
you can-
13 will support both, and they've got
Can you move apps and content back and forth?
yes,
Is everybody? Yeah,
Awesome.
it's completely portable. As soon as I
Very-
get export fixed. Sorry, Daniel. Love you.
Very good.
I ran into an odd one with import recently, where one of the fields in my content item is that GPS picker, and that doesn't import well, and I'm not sure why, but it only took an hour or two to fix it manually.
Okay, guys. Okay, so I think that we are come to our end here. No, it's just a little bit over 1 hour. I would like to go around again and see if there are any departing words from anyone. If you want to share anything else from what's going on with you, or I'll leave it up to anyone, each and every one of you, to say your final words, and we wrap things up here. So I guess that's Scott. Let's start with you.
Well, hold on a second. Did you guys do you remember Adderson talking about his,
No,
I
I
did.
don't really remember.
No, I did.
professional, right? But okay. Right. Okay. So it's teaching, and you just became a full stack .NET developer.
Yes.
Okay.
Full stack developer with React in the front end, which, again, I hope that my boss forgive me. I mean, please don't fight me. I hate React. I just hate React. That's fine. So I'm a backend type of person. Well, I'm okay with React. So let's put it this way. I'm okay with React. I like Angular better. That's really it. Yeah, I'm stretching myself thin. I'm teaching 200 students at this semester. I'm up to my neck at teaching. Again, working.
How are you a full stack developer and teaching full time?
Because I teach in the evenings and weekends, and I work through the days. So here's my current frustration. My current frustration is that I'm only working right now. I'm not doing anything more creative. Like I stopped my podcasts because I didn't have time. I stopped any creative endeavor at this point because of work. And I had to shift my priorities a little bit and I told you that we would have an oversharing segment. So I'm going to overshare a little bit here, just a little bit. So recently, a few months ago, I got divorced. I got separated, but not divorced yet, but separated. So things are still getting settled in my life. So I said that I needed to step back a little bit and dedicate myself to work. And so I'm working a lot. And yeah, that's been my thing. No, but it's all good. I mean, again, I'm happy as a camper. Cannot be better than this. No, I can have nothing to complain, really. Nothing.
So
Scott, is that enough, Scott? Is that enough
think
for you?
That
Do you
is,
want to do
I
that?
think so. It sounds like we could all use Mike Smelter's future cloning abilities in the future. Yeah.
well, I'll ask a question since Scott, you introduced the R word into the conversation, retirement.
Oh.
I don't see anybody here who strikes my mind of someone who's just going to go off into retirement and play golf, or anything like that. Have I got you guys all pegged correctly?
Yeah, we won't be the Ruth Bader Ginsburg of DNN like you, but yeah, certainly I'm not, I can't sit still like that.
Oh, Scott, we have to get together personally so I can either hug you or punch you. I'm not.
That joke might not have landed because, half of our audience is in Canada, but
I'm just laughing to go along.
I did want to interject back to Andrew, to David's comment that Microsoft is promising to support .NET over a much longer time frame than .NET Core. I wish I had a guarantee of that kind of support over the time periods, but
hey, they've got it in writing, so I don't know much more of a guarantee you want there, Joe.
Yeah, you cannot get better guarantee than that. Retirement. I don't know. I'm 45, so still looking forward to do a bunch of stuff. Again, I don't know how long I will have the energy that I have right now, but you know what? Just trying to chug along. They're trying to chug along, and one day at a time.
Yeah, I just turned the big 5-0.
Oh, you did?
So yeah, but I'm aiming for a retirement at 55. But what that means for me is on to the next phase of life.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Which would be what, David? Which would be what?
Yeah, Dave, my oldest daughter is older than you.
I know.
Okay, Joe, did you start at what, 5, 10? I mean, what is that?
Did I what?
Did you had your first at 5 years old?
23.
Okay.
Yeah, see, back in biblical times, we used to have kids very much younger at a younger age. See,
I was 23. She is now she's now 52. Do the math.
Very old.
Did I hear Smeltzer say he can't count that high?
Pretty close.
3/4.
I got it.
Yeah, 3/4. Wow.
Anyway, I was asking.
And I can tell you, that's probably nothing to fear. I mean, I grew up in the period of time where people had their midlife crises at age 40. I have a granddaughter who will be 30 this summer. We don't have, and then we won't have to trust her anymore.
I got it.
My
David,
gosh.
what would be that retirement vision in 5 years? What is that? What does that look like?
It doesn't. And it may be hereditary. My dad had certainly slowed down the consulting that he was doing, but he was still working up until almost the time that he died. And I think my next milestone is, do I outlive my father? But that's another deal.
It's going to be for sure. Now, David, how does that look like in 5 years, yours? Because you said that in 5 years you plan to calm down. Okay. What is that? How does that look like?
Well, I think
go ahead.
I'm like you guys. I can't sit still, so I have to be doing something. I've been slowly but surely ramping up over the last couple of years, ever since, I think COVID had this impact on a lot of people, just being kind of pent up in a single place for so long. You think, okay, well, what can I do from here? I like the idea of being a content creator, not to make a lot of money or anything like that, but really just, I enjoy that kind of process, you know, of just sharing things. So I've been learning a lot about that. And that's ultimately what I kind of want to do. I've started the DNN Dave channel as a testing ground, you know, for that. Just have not been consistent with it yet, but slowly but surely getting all my gear together and things like that. So I kind of want to do things like that and really focus on open source and things that I'm passionate about, you know, just doing that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
We'll see if the business can operate without.
So creatives here, lots of creatives. Scott creative, Dave creative. I have my creative plans as well, you know. So again, creation. I love that. Love that. Let's see. So again, Scott, you interrogated me a little bit there. Did I miss the final rounds? I did. No, I did miss the final round. So again, let's wrap things up. Unless Scott, you have follow-ups. But again, let's start with you, Scott. Do you want to wrap up?
No, I mean, I think looking forward for me, it's kind of same like Dave. Keep doing content creation, do my Fix It Scotty stuff. All I want is to do the work I want to do, but not have to work. That's what retirement looks like for me. It's still working full time, but not having to work full time. That's it. And so I still will, but yeah, eventually I'll probably get back to a DNN conference or something. I mean, the last one was Gifford's because he twisted my arm to do it. So I did that during the pandemic, but I think I'll eventually get back just to hang out and stuff. So yeah, but I like what I'm doing and I'm just going to keep doing it. So yeah.
Scott, maybe we'll get to go back to Switzerland at some point.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. Especially DNN Connect. I want to get back there. They're all good. Milo, that's great too.
Mike, what's up? Final words.
Yeah. Kind of with what everyone else has mentioned, I'm trying to figure out, you know, what does retirement look like eventually, and I think I think you guys just nailed it. It's you know, not having to work all the time to do what you want to do, and you know, next little while is just trying to continue down that path. And you know, we love sailing, my wife and I, and over the last couple of years, being locked up at home working on the computer all the time, I've you know figured out that I've got some other hobbies. My friends have given me the nickname, the Tailored Tradesman, because I wear my work shirts like every day of the week, and I will, you know, just walk away from the computer and go start, you know, ripping down a wall, building some stuff at home. We've been, our family has, but I've been doing a lot of the labor. We've been renovating our house top to bottom. So we live in a bit of a construction zone the last little while, but we're on the tail end of that, which is awesome. And you know, yeah, just exploring more stuff. I love my technology, but also away from my technology a bit as well, and you know, see where that takes me.
That's how it started for me, Mike. I'll see you in 10 years.
Well, you got me thinking now about electric cars, because we've been thinking about a second car, because my wife is a school teacher and works out of the house, and I'm kind of trapped now in my house without good transportation. So you know, I'd like an electric car, and I never thought about making one. So maybe there's my next hobby. I got a big garage for it.
It only takes like 4 years. It's easy.
4 years, okay.
No problem.
Okay,
maybe electric motorbike or something that'll strengthen it down a little bit.
I can see some collabs happening here. You know, everybody with YouTube channels and collab going across each other's channel. You know.
Mike and Scotty's NFT Fix-Its.
Yeah, we'll do an NFT. That's right.
All right, you can show me how to get started. That sounds good.
Yeah, we'll do.
Joe, and again, I'm pointing to Joe because in my screen he's here. Joe, your turn there. Final words. And I mean it. Final words. Final. I mean it.
I have a goal, and it's to be in the same room with the four of you at some point.
Awesome goal. I'm all for that. All about that. All for that. Love that. David, final words here.
Oh, I thought I already gave mine. What could I say? Live long and prosper.
Okay, Nick.
That's original, I'm pretty sure.
Is that,
yeah.
Is that
I just came up with that.
That's amazing.
just like that.
Okay, everyone. Guys, again, so good to have you guys here. Thank you, Joe, for sending me the email about a week, 2 weeks ago, just to chit chat, and it inspired me to say, hey, you know what, maybe it's time for us to get together again. I used to love having us together on a monthly basis. I used to look forward to that. Again, things change in life and we have to keep going, we have to carry on. But I see that we can do this kind of stuff, let's say every 2 years, why not? Until someone,
At least.
until someone doesn't show up. Oh, okay, what happened with this?
Yeah, let me tell you where that email came from. In 2018, I went
Talk about the clown thing.
Yes.
No, I went to a college reunion, and in the fall and at Christmas time, I got a phone call from one of the guys that I saw at the reunion. We had not been really close, but that he said, "Hey, just calling to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, whatever. I hate writing Christmas cards. And if I'm going to write somebody a Christmas card and not say anything, I'd rather spend that 5 or 10 minutes talking on the phone." So that kind of percolated. And 2 years ago, I started making calls at Christmas. And I just throw that out as something, that it's real easy to lose touch with people, even in these days where we can see them. But I've had, and particularly in COVID times, really enjoyed talking to people that I haven't talked to in years.
That's how it started.
It's nice
Yeah.
to see people or talk to people that you haven't talked to in a while, and this counts as a nice experience.
Of course, Joe. Yeah. So again, I thank so much, Joe, for bringing that idea up, and we are here today, and hopefully if you are one of the 10 people that will be watching this, and again, not counting me because I'll be watching this
I'm not going to watch it. Those guys just talk too much. But the idea of getting together, even on the phone or with people you haven't done that with for a while, I think it's a great idea. Pass it on.
It is. No, it is definitely. Guys, again, thanks so much for taking the time. I know, Scott, that you have to do a house call.
Wish me luck. I got to get a boiler working again. We'll see.
No,
Guys,
are you going to film it?
It's probably going to be boring. So I filmed it before.
Okay, so you need a crew to go with you, film it, and you edit afterwards, and you make it interesting.
I already have a film of this boiler, working on it from a few months ago. So if you go back like 4 or 5 videos, it is the cellar in this house is the most disgusting thing. So you will not be envious of what I'm about to do here. It is nasty.
So it can be one of those videos. So you should not watch this. Don't watch this.
I actually used the opening. You remember Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom when they're going through the cave and they're opening the cobwebs? They're that thick. I actually put that scene in my video because that's how I felt walking into this basement. It's so nasty.
Scotty gets beamed up to where goes.
Guys, again, we'll catch up. Thanks so much. Have a good one, every one of you. And again, we will do catch up, okay?
We definitely.
Cheers, guys.
Take care.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.